I feel sick to my stomach whenever this memory pops back up. I was maybe 15 years old, and my family took a trip to a ski resort in West Virginia. I'm the oldest out of 2 boys and a girl, who was maybe 6 at the time. She was adorable, big blue eyes and crazy blonde hair, bold and mature for her age because she grew up around big kids. My younger brother, maybe 8, my little sister, and myself decided to go hang out a bit in the sauna. We had been to the resort a few times before, and I was 15 already, a reasonable age to go off for an hour or so with just my siblings. Well, stupidly, while in the sauna we wanted something from the hotel room, or just wanted to tell our parents something. This is before you brought a cell phone everywhere you went. I decided to send my little sister to do it. Thinking back, I can't believe how stupid we were. But you know how immature kids think. You get the little one to do the things you don't want to do. Some time passed, and we heard my sister come pounding down the hallway in her little pink bathing suit, sprinting as fast as she could, with an older man speed-walking right behind her. I'll never forget how he looked. He was lunged forward, walking as quickly as he could, eyes bore into my little sister, a tight frown framed by his white mustache. My brother and I watched in absolute shock, trying to understand what was even going on. The sauna had a glass door looking down the hallway. I grabbed my little sister into the sauna, staring at the man with wide eyes, scared but defensive. The man instantly froze up when he saw other people. He picked up walking at a more slow pace and walked right by the sauna. It was at the end of the hallway, with nowhere else to go. The man looks at a door next to the sauna that led to the gym and mimes an "oh," as if that was what he was actually looking for. Mind you, he was wearing a collared shirt and slacks. He looked like he was actually shaking a bit. I asked my sister what had happened, and she said shortly after leaving the hotel room, the man came out of nowhere and started following her. She got scared and began running, and he did his best to keep up with her. I told my mom what happened, and of course she was pissed we sent a little girl out in a bathing suit through a hotel by herself. I still get sick when I think about what could have happened if he grabbed her before she made it to the sauna. I still see his gross mustache in my mind and get angry when my mind replays his sheepish "oh," as if chasing a small girl down a hallway is normal to do while looking for the gym. I feel guilty for sending her, and guilty for not saying something to him or reporting him. Sometimes I wonder if he had done this before, or after. But I have to remind myself how young I was, and I'm just glad I was with them. Had it been just her and my little brother, who knows what could have happened in the end. This is an encounter that happened to my wife and I back in 2016. Back then, we were recently married, and really starting both our careers and lives as a couple independently. As many couples in our stage of life, money wasn't exactly abundant, so we adjusted expectations to making sure we got the cheapest rent in an area close enough for her work in downtown. Not a seedy neighborhood, though. Now, Miami is very expensive when it comes to rent, and where we ended up renting a one-bedroom apartment was a neighborhood that 10 years prior I wouldn't have even considered. The apartment we found was a 10-apartment semi-open-air complex. All the neighbors seemed calm enough and cool. A mix of retired individuals, young people, and families in transition. A great first apartment, we thought. The apartment we had was centered in the middle of the complex on the second floor. To get there, you had to access a central stairwell that had the complex laundry room right in front in the first floor. It's somewhat hidden, and a great spot for shade from the Miami sun. The stairwell led to a cool, decent-sized patio area, which we shared with another neighbor. This encounter began on our day back from our honeymoon cruise. We had gotten married 4 months earlier, but had to delay our honeymoon due to work and money reasons. We got picked up by my mother from the cruise ports and traveled home, which was about 10 minutes away. It was a Monday morning at around 10 a.m. when we finally got home. As we rolled our bags towards our apartment staircase, we see there's a young-looking black guy sitting on the bottom steps, blocking any way of going up. He was wearing a brown vest, a black t-shirt and jeans. He rocked an afro and a goatee. As I approached him, I sensed that something was a little off. He didn't acknowledge my presence as I approached the stairs, so I told him, "Hey, sorry to bother you, but we need to go up the stairs." He simply glanced at me for a second, got up and walked away towards a little park in front of the complex. What I found odd initially was that he wasn't really doing much, just sort of staring off into space when we first ran into him. My mother and wife were a little creeped out and worried. We are all Hispanic, my side of the family Cuban, and my wife Venezuelan. I'll admit that my mother is mildly racist, and that she bases negative African American stereotypes to all black people. She was quick to suggest the guy was up to no good. As someone who grew up in Miami and has a lot of black friends, I refused to assume anything of the sort. I told them both to calm down. I rationalized that he was probably just waiting for someone from the apartments, and the stairwell was a good place to wait and have some shade. What I found weird was the blank look on his face, sort of as if devoid of emotion. I didn't give it much thought at the moment, though. After we finished unpacking our stuff, we said goodbye to my mother and she left. No later than 2 minutes, she calls to let me know that the man is in the park. I told her to stop with the paranoia and to just leave the man alone. At the same moment, my wife reminds me that rent is due in a few days, that I had to go to the post office to send the check to our landlord. So I leave her home alone to keep unpacking while I go off to run the errand. Where I was parked was in front of the complex and across the street from the little park where the guy from the stairwell was now seated on a bench. I see he's just there doing much of the same, just staring blankly off into space. I make it to the post office, prepare the letter, and wait in line. It's been about 15 minutes since I left our apartment, when my wife calls. I answer very relaxed. "What's up, babe?" She whispers to me in a low tone, but I could hear the concern in her voice. "I think that guy from the stairwell is outside our door." The hairs on my neck stand up. I asked how does she know. My wife says she heard a knock. When she looked through the peephole, she saw a black guy wearing a brown vest. I asked if he was wearing a black shirt, jeans, and had an afro hairstyle. She confirmed that it was him, and he was just standing in front of our door in the patio area. At that moment, I felt adrenaline kick in. I told my wife not to open the door and to call the cops. She whispered okay, and we hung up. I bolted out of the post office and into my car, having my heart pumping out of my chest and stomach in a knot, my mind racing on what this guy was trying to pull, and concerned for the safety of my wife. When I got to our apartment 10 minutes later, the cops had gotten there extremely fast. We lived 5 minutes away from the city's police department and courts. They were putting him in the back seat of the cop car. That's when a few neighbors that were home came out. We spoke to one female neighbor that said that the very same guy was lurking in the complex late Saturday night and had knocked on her door. The arresting officer then approached my wife and I to get our statements. He asked if anyone else lived with us, and we informed him no. That's when he tells us that the man was claiming he was there to see his girlfriend, and that he was knocking on her apartment. My wife and I were in complete shock and fright, in disbelief of what might have happened if she had opened the door thinking it was me coming back to get something I forgot. The guy clearly saw me leave our apartment, and took the opportunity to go upstairs and knock on one of 2 possible apartments. Later on, I was subpoenaed to go to court, and found out the man suffered from schizophrenia. I saw his mother there with him, and I couldn't help but feel sorry for the guy. That a part of this inappropriate behavior was caused by something he couldn't control, which adversely affects his family and friends. That being said, my wife's safety comes first. All I requested when testifying was not jail time or anything serious, just to never come to the complex again, as my wife no longer felt safe in our apartment. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be the last attempt he made to get in, but that's for later, in a second part. This all happened when I was 19. I'm not the best looking dude, so I've never had much luck with women, and I ended up on Tinder. I wasn't having much luck there either, until about the 3rd month of using it, when a blonde woman named Katie messaged me. She was pretty enough that at first I just dismissed her as a bot. It wasn't until 3 days later that she messaged me again. This was odd because bots almost never message more than once. I clicked on her chat and replied, then looked at her profile. What I saw was pretty generic, but definitely wasn't a bot's profile. We had been talking for about a month when she proposed the idea that I come meet her. I was pretty reluctant, as she lived nearly 8 hours from me by car, but I had to admit I really did like her quite a bit. I had been thinking about asking her if I could come see her for a while now. After a bit more badgering from her, I finally said that I would take the drive to go see her. At this point, I had no reason to doubt she was who she said she was. We had video chatted every other week and called most days. I just assumed I got really lucky. Things did get a little weird on the way there, though. She kept messaging me, asking me where I was, and making sure I was still coming. At some points, when I took more than 30 minutes to respond, she'd send me a slew of annoyed texts. Admittedly, I had chalked this all up to her being nervous about me coming to see her. I was pretty nervous too, so I couldn't blame her at all. I had a hard time finding the house at first. The directions she gave me were pretty confusing, and it was back through a series of gravel and dirt roads and a large thicket of trees. It was still about midday when I came onto an old-looking house. A window on the 2nd floor was boarded up, but it didn't look abandoned, just a bit worse for wear. Katie's red buggy that she liked to talk about was parked in front of the garage. I looked at my phone and texted her that I was here. She only sent a smiley face in return. When I got out of my car to go knock on the door, I noticed someone was looking at me from one of the 2nd floor windows. I found it a little creepy, but I figured it was just her father or something. She had told me that he comes to stay with her every now and again, so I ignored it and knocked on her door. She answered with a smile and even gave me a kiss, which surprised me as I followed her inside. We both sat down on her couch and started talking about her plans when I asked her about her dad. "You didn't tell me your dad was here," I said. "Was that going to be a surprise, or?" Kitty looked confused and told me that her dad wasn't there. I still thought she was keeping up the act, and I told her that she didn't have to keep pretending. I had seen him looking down at me through the upstairs window. Katie went pale and said that we both had to get out of there now. We both ran to our cars, and when I questioned Katie, she informed me that her dad wasn't there, and that she had been at home all alone until I showed up. I called the police, and while I was on the phone giving the address, Katie gasped. She pointed up to the window where I had seen the man last. He was looking at us from out the window again. I got a better look at him. He seemed older and frail, almost like he hadn't eaten anything in a long time. He left the window after he saw that we had seen him. The police took half an hour to show up, and the whole time Katie was crying, mumbling about how she was an idiot for not keeping her doors locked. When the police finally did show up, one started asking me and Katie questions while the other two searched the house. They came back out a little while later, and told me and Katie that while they didn't find anyone, they did find the back door hanging wide open. Whoever it was had run out into the woods, but the cops were sure the house was empty. After the cops left, Katie asked me to stay the night because she was too scared to be in her house alone right now. I gladly did, and we slept downstairs on the couch, as Katie's bed was the room next to the one the man had been in. Katie had also brought out the shotgun that her father had given her, but she had never used it before. I told her it was fine. The man was gone, but she insisted, saying she'd feel safer if we had it out. I'm glad she did. Later that night, I was still wide awake watching TV. Katie had somehow managed to fall asleep despite her fear. From the kitchen, I heard the sound of a doorknob being turned. At this point, I wasn't even scared anymore. I was just pissed off. I flipped on the light in the kitchen and pointed the gun at the kitchen door. There he was. The same man that had been in the house before was standing on the other side of the glass door. He looked shocked, and I'm glad we had locked the door. The man unfroze and ran yet again deep off into the woods. I woke Katie up and told her what happened and called the police again. When they arrived, they did a sweep of the woods, but they found no one yet again. They told Katie and I that it'd probably be a good idea to stay somewhere else for the night. Katie and I said our goodbyes. She was going to stay at her friend's house, and I was going to head home. I left a little after Katie did. I was on the phone with my brother telling him about what had happened. My headlights were on. As I was talking, though, something caught my eye. That fucking man was standing at a corner of the house, just watching me. I gunned it out of there and didn't even bother calling the police again. I did text Katie the next day, and she said she was going to call again. I don't think Katie even ever went back to that house alone. I want to start by saying I'm a stay-at-home mom. A very stay-at-home loner mom. And with my family so far away, it doesn't feel right to have them worry. I just want to tell my story. Whether someone reads it or not doesn't really matter. I'm not a writer by any means. This is just my thoughts and a recap of my night. Tonight, I tucked my oldest kid into bed, and on my way out to my new nightly ritual of feeding my neighbor's cat, my husband made a joke about wanting corn dogs from 7-Eleven. I don't get out much and don't mind, so I said we needed milk anyways and went right on my way. The neighbors was uneventful, except their one hellcat hooked her nail into my middle finger when I was giving her treats. Because of this, I left earlier than usual and decided to head straight to the store. It was just after 9 p.m. when I pulled up to the 7-Eleven, parking along the side of the building, unobstructed window spanning the entire length. It was pretty well lit. I immediately noticed a gentleman in blue standing up on the sidewalk. I paid no mind, but started gathering up my things. My finger still really hurt, so I was taking my time and cursing that gorgeous cat when I hear a man's voice mumbling something. My window is partially open, but my windshield is already fogging up. When I look up, I see he's walking towards my passenger side. He starts trying to open the door, but thank God my kids broke that door handle and it won't open at all. I immediately step out of my car, and with me standing in my open door looking out across the windshield, I say, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" The man starts repeating over and over, "Are you yellow cab? Are you yellow cab?" I say again, "I don't know you, and I'm not letting you in my car." He realizes he can't get in and people are watching, so he starts walking away from my car and I run inside. I'm a little shaken, but I try to sum it up to mistaken identity. We live in a small town, and most of our cabs are just random cars. I'm walking around and trying to make sure he isn't near my car. At one point, I see him looking like he's walking away. I call my husband and tell him a little bit of what happened, just to hear him say that it's probably nothing. Corn dogs in hand, I walk out and head back towards my car. Visions of this guy in the back seat flashing through my head. I see him walking away from my car, but now he has a backpack. Something flashes on the side of the pack, and it hits me. I didn't lock my doors when I ran inside. This POS mother lover has my 5-year-old son's backpack. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I walked maybe 2 feet from my car and yelled, "Hey, that's my son's backpack." I thought that he might bolt away, but he started walking back towards me instead. I said again, "Hey, that's my son's backpack." The man just starts saying, "Are you yellow cab? Are you yellow cab?" I yell louder, "That's my son's. Give me that pack back." For a millisecond, I even consider the fact this might not be my son's backpack. I panic, but I'm convinced the moment I see the bus pass. This man is just going on and on about yellow cab, and I looked at him, furious. Mama Bear was pissed. I take an extra long look at what he was wearing. Hospital blue pajama pants and a deep but vibrant blue hoodie with a WOT logo. The O has some hemisphere lines of something on it. All of this happens in a few seconds. I just remember looking at him pissed and telling him he's fucked for stealing a little kid's backpack. Maybe it's because I live in Canada, or maybe it's because I didn't leave the area where I could be seen, but he started to walk away. I went inside immediately and told the clerks, but I don't think any of us knew what to do. For a second, I wasn't going to call the cops. It's just a backpack after all. But I just couldn't help but think about him trying to get into my car with me in it. I called the police. I started telling them what was happening, and I saw the man again. I followed him while on the phone, and I parked way ahead of him. Time passes quickly when you're on the phone with the cops, and the guy passes my car. He turns back and sees it's me, and turns around. I haven't turned off my car yet, so I panic, but I shift into drive and start driving away. This man wasn't scared at all. He was actually walking right back to me. As I'm driving away, I tell the officer, "What the fuck was I thinking? This is so dangerous. I gave you his description and his general location. I'm going home now." We finished the conversation on the way, and I gave them my info and the man's. I don't know why I followed him. I follow a lot of true crime, and I guess I just couldn't not report a man trying to get into people's cars. I told the police the same. We got off the phone and I went inside. My husband is good at pointing out people's hardships, and it's clear this man had some mental issues. I suspect some addiction issues as well. He was rather thin with large scabs all over his face. He kind of dumbed down how I feel about it, and that's why I think I wanted to write this. What happened, it scared me. I don't know why I did what I did. All of it seems stupid. I approached the guy, I drove after him. I'm ridiculously slow sometimes. I did get the backpack back, but it was all stupid. I received a phone call 5 minutes before I started writing this, and the police got him. He's going to the station for the night because he was extremely intoxicated. The officer's words, "We pulled up with our lights on, and he kept asking if we were yellow cab." A part of me feels like maybe he's just drunk or something, but a part of me thinks this guy was using that as an excuse to why he would be thinking to get in my car. I definitely had an adrenaline rush, and now I'm just tired. But thanks for reading. It was a weird night.
What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. As always, be sure to let me know what you guys think, and please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe if you feel so inclined. I know some people have also had some problems about videos not appearing in their sub box, so please make sure to hit that little bell if you guys want to always be notified of when my next video comes out. As always, links to all of my social media will be in the description of the video below. You can find links to my Twitter, Gmail, Twitch, and Facebook accounts. So if you guys ever want to talk to me, just go ahead and shoot me a message on any of those, and I'll try to respond to your message as soon as possible. I'm also going to start trying to stream on Twitch a little bit more, so if you guys have notifications on there, you'll be notified right away when I go live. I might also try to do some on YouTube, but I haven't decided yet. I'm still kind of trying to decide what kind of streams I want to do. Anyways, if you guys have a story you would like to send in, or if you have a story you would like to suggest that I read, go ahead and send me a message on any of those links in the description below. If you do decide to send in a story, please be sure to include the title, how you would like to be credited, and any genres that the story might have, if it does have one. If you guys are curious about the music used in this video, go ahead and take a look in the description below as well. I always put all of the music in the order in which it appears in the video, and I also have links to the artists as well. Last but not least, I also have a Patreon if you guys feel like you want to contribute to the channel a little bit, but of course, as always, it is never required and you will never have to pay for watching any of my videos, so that's just something you do if you feel like it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please be sure to leave your feedback in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you very much.